Does anyone have a question?
Stuart, I see this sometimes during the meditation. You smile a little bit. You talk about it's okay to smile a little bit.
Well, not to force a smile, but if it comes out of your heart, why not? Why not? But if you're faking a smile, that just it doesn't work. But it just comes out of you. It comes out of you. It's from inside. It comes out. Your heart is open. A smile. I think there's nothing wrong with that.
I have a question, Stuart. This time of year, a lot of times you talk about the cycles, the different cycles. Can you
So
speak
what's the
on that a little?
question?
Well, can
What?
you talk about that a little bit?
Well, cycles are really very important in not only spiritual practice, but in just daily living. Things are born, they live, they come to an end. And when, things are born, we're joyous, we're happy, life is wonderful. And in the middle of it, it's all conflict and this and that and trying to make things work. And when it comes to an end, everybody is sad and unhappy. And we have to realize that we live in cycles. I mean, all of nature is about cycles. And life, every human being's life is about cycles. And perhaps the most apparent and strongest cycle that anyone experiences is the end of the year. We're reminded that this year has come to an end. We have worked through whatever the cycle is, and we have to embrace the new. And all it is telling us is that we have to go into ourselves and recognize how important it is to be conscious about the cycles that take place in life. Relationships are all about cycles. Fall in love with somebody, and most wonderful thing in the world. And then, 8 months later, it's a whole different story. You're dealing with somebody's inner turmoil, their personality, what they like, they don't like, and if the cycle comes to an end, there's always a lot of sadness and unhappiness. Or if the cycle is not good, a lot of joy. So it's just the nature of life, that human beings, life, animals, nature, trees, plants, everything goes through a cycle of being born, living, and dying. And being born is something sacred, living is sacred, is something sacred, and dying is something sacred. It all depends on how highly evolved the person is inside themselves. They're really highly evolved. Every moment of their life is sacred. And you get to the place where there is no birth or death. There's just life through eternity. The soul doesn't die. The soul moves on to its next incarnation or its oneness with God. So I think, what you're asking is very important because there's not a person alive that doesn't go through this whole thing of cycles. And our work really is to build a system inside that's strong enough to be able to consciously do these cycles. you know, where each and every one of them is part of our daily growth and our evolvement and knowledge and wisdom that we learn, and how to build inside ourselves a connection with higher energy in the universe. Nature's a masterful teacher about cycles, perhaps the greatest teacher there is about cycles. I mean, autumn becomes winter very gracefully. Winter becomes spring. It just hands over spring. Here, it's your turn now. Spring becomes summer. And it's amazing with what grace nature exists. And only human beings, impose their reality on nature and create, in many cases, a nightmare on the earth. But nature is just very sophisticated energy, much more sophisticated than people. So, yes, cycles are very important. And look, we're coming to the end of probably the biggest cycle. I mean, you can go down to Times Square and scream your brains out, or you can just sit quietly and open and just really allow the new year to embrace it. Or you could do both. I used to have classes every New Year's Eve at midnight. I did that for years. Now I don't really have a place to do it. I don't think it would be a good idea to do it online. But I used to have people come, and there was always a big crowd that used to turn up to greet the new year open. They go into the new year with their hearts open, with their minds quiet, grounded, and embrace it and welcome it.
I remember those classes.
Yeah, me too. But it's different today, life is very different. So I think the key to all of this is to just embrace the newness, step into it, and just let all the stuff go. All that, it's all in the past. Let it go. We can't relive it. We can't, it's like looking through a glass darkly to look at the past. We look at the past, from how we live in the present. And we're not actually reliving the past. We're getting a view of the past from the way we are in the present. So we might as well just be in the present. And if we're just in the present, then life, the view is very, very, clear. I learned years ago that's all we have. The only thing we have is the moment. The now, to be in the now.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? I never like to look into the future. I like to make this moment work. And if I make this moment work, the future will take care of itself. If I live in a state of surrender in this moment, completely in the present, in the now, the future will take care of itself. Does anyone else have a question they would like to? I mean, I could get very excited about all the things that are taking place, and it's just a waste of my time. Just do them, one after the other, and let life take its course. Let life take its course. And just be prepared to be able to live in the moment, each moment, as life takes its course. And use every moment as an opportunity to get closer to spiritual enlightenment. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask?
I have a question, Stuart. It's Christine. The
Yes.
the podcast on YouTube, would it be appropriate for a non-student to watch it with me?
Yeah, of course. That podcast, look, I'm doing a podcast sometime in early January that they told me 1.6 million people will hear and see. Now, I can't imagine 1.6 million people, being enlightened people, but it might touch somebody who say, oh my God, maybe I can learn something from what I'm hearing here. And who knows? I was kidding around. I said, out of 1.6 million people, if I get 10 students, it would be fantastic. But I mean, somebody came to study with me who was riding on a train and was having a difficult time. And a person said to her, I know somebody who can help you. And that person gave my name to her. And she started coming to class. And it's not an accident. There are no accidents. It's not an accident that your friend, whoever it is, would see this podcast. Understand? It's then what somebody does with it.
Mhm.
Understand? It wasn't an accident that I met Rudy, but it was what I did with it from having met him. So if a person is ready, oh my God, let me find out more about this. So yes, absolutely. Absolutely. It would be good for somebody else to see. Read my book, see that,
Mhm.
it might give this person a life.
Mhm. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Does anyone else have a question? It's been a very long day for me. I think I've been up
Hey
at
Stuart,
three.
it's Heidi.
Yes.
Hi, can you speak a little bit about the present and staying in that state, or uh, just speak a little bit more about that to support in expanding into that experience?
It's you can only sustain, excuse me, you can only sustain the present if you've built a system inside yourself that's strong enough not to be distracted by all of the tension and all of the polarity that goes on in your mind. Please try and sit still. and that goes on in your mind and your emotions. You've got to build a chakra system that is strong enough so that you can focus and sustain yourself living in the present. I don't know any other way to do it. I mean, people that are, excuse me, are athletic. You understand when they get into that zone, they're in the present. But the only problem is they leave the field and they wind up fighting with their wife, you know, fighting with their husband. They leave the field and all of a sudden it's a different person. Somebody in the theater is the same way. They're acting on stage, they have to be in the present. But they dance, you have to be in the present. But this meditation is about not just acting and dancing and all that stuff. It's about living life in the present in all its dimensions. And in order to do this, you have to build a system inside that's capable of doing it. Otherwise, it's not going to work. You can't, you know, write on a blackboard, I am going to live in the present. And 2 minutes later, you're thinking and daydreaming and going off and doing 1,000 other things with your brain. You've got to build that chakra system inside that gives you the focus, the rootedness, the power to stay focused in the present, to live your life in the now, to taste your food, to see shapes and forms and colors and, you know, to smell, the scent of nature, the scent of life. It's all in the present. But our job is to build an inner life that is strong enough so we can live that way. That's all this meditation is about. I keep telling everybody that. This meditation is not a spiritual life. It's a craft that you use to develop your consciousness and build a chakra system that's strong enough to live in the present, in the now, strong enough to keep the heart open and to feel love and happiness, strong enough to really tap the highest levels of your own humanity. You do that, and as I've said 100 times, spiritual enlightenment is a snap. If you don't do that, forget about it, Then there's reincarnation to go through all this stuff again and again until a human being finally does it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. One thing that just to finish, one thing that used to drive me crazy when I was younger, I would hear teachers talk about this stuff, being in the present, love, joy, happiness. I would hear it. And I would go up to them and say, well, how do I get my mind to shut up? How do I get my emotions to stop? How do I quiet the sexual energy inside me? And I never got an answer until I met Rudy. And he showed me this double breathing exercise, and here's a way to do it, to actually get your mind quiet, get your heart open, get your throat open so you can communicate on a high level with other people. And, get yourself centered in the chakra below the navel, so you build rootedness and a foundation inside yourself, and to master sexual energy, to keep it from making you crazy and taking over. There's a way to do it. And this is what Rudy gave to all of us, a way to do it. And we have to truly use it to do that and to learn by doing that how to live in the moment and how to see the richness, even if it's something boring. And there's something to learn from anything one experiences in life. And when you live in the present, you learn from all aspects of life. They become your teacher. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? Okay, it's been a very long day. I think I've been up since 3 o'clock in the morning. I had to do this thing early. But God bless you all. Thank you. Thank you for being here. And there will be meditation tomorrow at 1 o'clock. And then on Wednesday, same time, 7:30. And I'm looking forward to seeing you all. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you, Stuart.
You're welcome.
Thank you.